back to Peter's note to me. I'll read it again. Kevin, I'm the PR consultant that used to write you during the Snyder days. On a PR damage scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the worst, this was an 11. Disastrous. You had a sense of how bad it was on your show today, but as a PR person for 30 years, I knew it was way worse. This was, as you said, unforced, self-inflicted, and whomever was responsible for it better learn from it and understand the damage they did to Jayden yesterday. The LSU fan base isn't that forgiving, and if he doesn't play well this year, our fan base isn't very forgiving. I still can't figure out what they were trying to achieve, but the reaction was so predictable. No turning the clock back on this one. So, Pete, the PR guy, I do remember you. I remember you used to write all the time during the Snyder years. And I think for the most part, I agree with you. I disastrous 11 on a scale of 1 to 10. It was bad. I mean, the reaction, I'm sure at this point, most of you have followed what the reaction was. The LSU fan base is pissed. The NFL people all over the country thought it was petty, small, soft. Yes, there are some people taking the side of Jayden with respect to the number and why is Joe Burrow's number not protected? Let me just get one thing out real quickly, because I'm a big college football fan and I'm a big Jayden Daniels fan. Joe Burrow and Jayden Daniels are not equal. Okay, Joe Burrow, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, they won a national championship. And Joe Burrow had the single greatest season any quarterbacks ever had in the history of college football, numbers-wise and otherwise. Now, with that said, his number isn't retired because they don't retire numbers. And my sense is if somebody had committed to a player that was as highly ranked as Pickett was coming out, and that player wanted to wear number 9, I have a feeling they would have probably said, sure. Brian Kelly kind of started all this. I'll get to Jayden's mother, the family in a second, adding to what I said yesterday. But Brian Kelly is the guy that sort of started this by cutting the deal with DJ Pickett, whereby Pickett was promised number 5 if he signed with LSU. And what did I say Kiffin? I meant
no.
Brian Kelly.
I have Lane Kiffin talking about it from last week and this week.
Yeah. We can play that in a second. But that was yesterday. We can play it here in a second. But let me just say, Brian Kelly's the one that cut the deal with DJ Pickett, and then Brian Kelly, because he coached Jayden Daniels, realized last year, man, you know what? I promised this, but I got to get him to wear another number. I don't want him to wear Jayden's number this quick, even though it's not retired. And so he talked him into wearing another number last year. But Brian Kelly's gone, and Lane Kiffin comes on, and now the kid who's got the contract with the school, the NIL deal, he committed, he wants number 5. And Lane Kiffin said, I didn't cut this deal. I'm just, as the head coach, living up to the deal. And Brian Kelly may have talked the guy out of it last year, but that's not for me to do. Here's what Lane Kiffin said. By the way, you've got the Lane Kiffin from a few days ago, because that soundbite from Kiffin talking about this wasn't from yesterday. It was from like 3 or 4 days ago. That's the one you have, Max?
We'll play this one, and then I've got a second one. So we'll
play that one. It should be the longer one.
DJ is in 5, and that was a situation that was promised to him in recruiting here for him to sign here. And I've done a lot of research on that with the family and the representatives and the people. And so really, I didn't have a decision to make. It was promised to the kid. It wasn't done for whatever. I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to judge something that I wasn't here of. But when a kid's promised something to come to school, he should wear it. And so at that point, I don't really think that's my decision. Should be honored what he was told. And so he's wearing it.
Yeah, he's wearing it now. And by the way, the kid came out yesterday and said, I've been wearing this number since I was a kid. I'm wearing the number. The father said, my kid's wearing number 5. Sorry. Look, there's been a lot that's been said and written. And I mean, it really obviously blew up in a very poor way for my guy, who I really believe, and I do. I just don't think that this was him driving this, activity over the last couple of days. I don't. I think he is what we think he is. Great kid, uh, the opposite of self-absorbed, great work ethic, great player, and he's going to prove it this year. I can't imagine that he's thrilled with what happened yesterday. The statement that he put out with the team's help, I thought was a good one. I know I said yesterday on the show, don't say anything. At this point, you guys have screwed the pooch. This is now, damage control, and damage control starts with shutting the hell up and hoping that once the games start, this kind of goes away. But they did put out a statement. Jayden put out a statement on Instagram, and I'm sure that the team probably, helped him with this. And I thought it was a solid statement. So I when I saw it, I'm like, okay, this is what I think people want to hear. There was one nit to pick, which I'll mention, but he wrote, I have been locked in on training camp, and that's been my number one focus. I have a lot of gratitude for my time at LSU, and I'm proud of what my teammates and I accomplished there. Obviously, there are issues to be worked out between my team and LSU, and my hope is that it will get done privately. My sole personal focus is on Commanders football. I realize the business of football is unique, and I trust that this can all be resolved. I think that was a solid statement from Jayden. The issue that I would, the nit to pick is that, when he says that my hope is that this will get done privately, that horse left the barn when his mother or whomever it was close to Jayden, the spokesperson, went to ESPN and gave him the whole story and gave him quotes. And more likely than not, leaked the cease and desist letter as well. I don't know that for sure. We do know that they went to ESPN because they're quoted. The team spokesperson, Jayden's spokesperson, was quoted. So the chances of any of this getting resolved privately anymore, that's over. You guys blew that. I actually had somebody yesterday call me and just say, why do you guys continue to blow things up that aren't a big deal? And I said, well, we didn't blow anything up. We didn't initiate anything. He used the word initiate. Why do you initiate things and then blow it up? Is that the only way you can get listeners? And I said, well, we didn't initiate anything. The family did. The family did by going to ESPN and telling ESPN how hurt they were, profoundly disappointed and disrespected they felt by the number being given to another player, and then leaked the cease and desist letter. I mean, anybody on that side, grow up, okay? We didn't make this up. Nobody made this up. This was there when we all woke up yesterday morning. Had Mark Schlabach on the show yesterday. The idea that, and I like the statement from Jayden, and by the way, my sense of it is he's like, bad day. Hopefully he has the ability to talk to the people responsible for this, to say it's now time for you to move out, not as a mother or an agent, or not as a family member or a friend, whomever was responsible for it, but I'm a professional football player, and I'm playing for a professional football team, and it's a big business, and they're relying on me. And this was an unnecessary distraction, a total self-inflicted, unforced error on our part. There was a way to do it if he was really upset, and it would have been to approach it privately with LSU. Now, it's possible that something would have gotten out. Maybe LSU would have put something out eventually, if it had really gotten ugly between the two parties. I'm not even so sure this is something that Jayden cares about at a high level as much as the people around him care about it. He might, and he might feel profoundly disrespected by it. But guess what? You don't play for LSU anymore. You're in the NFL. You play for Washington. You lost your left tackle last week. And we're talking about jersey number 5 at your college. You guys need to get it together because this is a massive season coming up for Jayden Daniels and this football team and a lot of people who are employed by this football team. Huge season. I'm telling you, I don't think it was him. I just don't. I think most of you probably have the same thought. And hopefully this was kind of a wake-up call that the person or the people responsible are not him. They're not a part of LSU football. They're not a part of the team in terms of how the team runs and anything like that. And I'm not suggesting that they've been that way. But big boy league, grown men, they have to do it themselves. They have to advocate for themselves. You know, agents aren't there to do what happened yesterday. They're there to protect from what happened yesterday from happening. So, not a good day, but here's the part that I would disagree with Peter on. Everything in the moment seems disastrous. It seems catastrophic. I had somebody sort of close to the whole thing yesterday describe it as a catastrophic day for Jayden Daniels. And I said, yes, but he's a good kid. Good. Let me rephrase. He's a good grown man, adult. He has an unbelievable work ethic, and he's a phenomenal player. Once the games start, this can absolutely be a distant memory. I have a feeling it won't be as much of a distant memory for the LSU fan base. That makes me upset that that it's possible that there's been a separation between him and his alma mater where he achieved great things they did together. What an offense that was in 2023. I mean, as great as Joe Burrow's season was, and it was the greatest season statistically and otherwise in the history of college football, I said it during that season when we were doing shows. I think I'm watching one of the greatest college quarterbacks I've ever watched, ever. And Jayden didn't have a defense like Burrow did. Now, Burrow's defense wasn't great either, but Jayden's defense was horrific. If it had been a bad defense instead of a horrific defense, they probably would have been in the playoff and had a chance to compete for a national championship. But they didn't, and he was outstanding, and he was deserving of the Heisman Trophy. And quite honestly, from a gripe standpoint with respect to number 5, I kind of get it. You know, like, this is something that if it's important to you, it's important to you. If Brian Kelly told you that he was going to protect it, and he went back on his word, or Lane Kiffin did on Brian Kelly's word, I understand you might be hurt, but you're a professional quarterback now. You got a big season coming up. Huge season. That's got to be the focus, not this crap. The Eagles on September 13th. That has to be the only thing that matters to him. And if it's not what matters to the people around him, they have to figure out a way to keep those people down until we get to the season. No more of this crap. Self-inflicted at a major level. Catastrophic, disastrous, I don't know. I think somebody like Jayden can overcome almost anything. You know, I do. And I think all he's got to do is focus on football. But this better be a lesson learned for the people around him. That was not bright. To not understand, as Pete, the PR guy, said, what the reaction was going to be. I sat here yesterday morning, a couple of hours after that story came out, and I said, this is an unforced error from a public relations standpoint. This is not going to go well for him today. I don't think even as Peter said, I don't think I knew the backlash, especially from the LSU fan base. In terms of all the he said, she said, the cease and desist letter, how it got out. I mean, anybody that actually thinks that this wasn't about the jersey number and it's more about truly protecting his name, image, and likeness, when they essentially gave this story to ESPN, which was almost all about the jersey number, if you can't connect those dots, I can't help you. It will open up a whole conversation about what is protectable and what isn't. I don't know how the hell you get Jayden, out of LSU's memorabilia, out of their team photos, out of their team videos. He's a part of their history. It's stupid that universities don't retain the, rights almost in perpetuity. Now, I'm not talking about being able to advertise and generate revenue with just Jayden in his LSU uniform, but it's a part of the whole pitch, the history. LSU football's been around for a lot longer than any of us or Jayden Daniels or Jaden Daniels' family. You think that fan base is going to kowtow to Jayden's family on this when there's a good player to be had to go beat Bama this year? All right.